What's up guys, and welcome to the first video of my series of robotic reviews. In this series I'll be taking a look at all the robot masters and mavericks in the classic and Mega Man X series. I'll be reviewing each of the robot masters based on their stage, their weapon, their music, and their boss battle. After giving them a rating in all those categories, I'll give them an overall rating. So this should be fun. Starting off the series, we'll be taking a good look at Gravity Man. While Gravity Man's stage isn't exactly the most difficult one around, it certainly stands out as one of the better and definitely more unique Mega Man stages around. The gimmick in Gravity Man's stage is that you're constantly being switched between walking along the ground and walking along the ceiling. Another thing that helps make this gimmick more interesting is that your controls change depending on whether you're on the ground or the ceiling. For instance, whenever you're on the ceiling, you actually have to hold up and press the jump button in order to slide, as opposed to holding down and pressing the jump button to slide like you normally would if you were on the ground. This interesting and fun gimmick more than makes up for the lack of difficulty throughout Gravity Man's stage. There are a couple of easily placed power-ups, which you can grab simply by sliding towards and holding the button in the direction of the power-up. Throughout most of the stage, most of the enemies will take at most 3 shots to kill. You'll have some enemies that'll take 4 or more to kill, however, but most of the enemies can be skipped. The real joy in this stage, as I stated before, is the gimmick of constantly being switched between the floor and the ceiling via the gravity. Along with an already fun stage, this level boasts some really nice graphics. I especially like the various flashing lights that you see here and there that point you in the direction that you should be standing in. This level also has a really nice theme, one of my very favorites here in Mega Man 5. Even though the enemies throughout Gravity Man's stage go down rather quickly to the Mega Buster, they do suit the stage quite well, and I especially like that they follow you depending on whether you're on the floor or the ceiling. The battle against Gravity Man is rather predictable and easy, yet it still manages to stay fun after all these playthroughs of Mega Man 5. The thing that keeps Gravity Man's battle fun after all these years is the same thing that keeps the stage fun, the constant flipping of the gravity that sends you from the floor to the ceiling or the ceiling to the floor. Throughout the battle, gravity will be constantly switching on you. While you're on the floor, Gravity Man will be on the ceiling, and vice versa. The only way for you to hit Gravity Man is to hit him as you two pass each other. Gravity Man will occasionally shoot a shot at you. He'll only fire 1 shot at a time, and usually sliding away is good enough to avoid that shot. So that's really easy. The only other thing you have to worry about damage-wise is avoiding collision damage with Gravity Man as the two of you pass each other, which is easy enough if you keep your distance. So as I said, this battle is easy, but it still manages to stay fun due to the stage's fun gimmick of constantly switching the gravity. As to be expected, just like all other robot masters and mavericks throughout the classic and Mega Man X series, once you defeat Gravity Man, you'll obtain his special weapon, which we'll get to that here in just a moment. One interesting thing that you can do in Gravity Man's stage is if you input this Game Genie code here, it will enable the Mega Jump. Once you've enabled the Mega Jump, if you go to these spots here in Gravity Man's stage, you can jump into these so-called endless pits. However, you'll just come right back out alive. Therefore, you can't kill yourself at all. It is completely impossible to kill yourself in an endless pit in the floor if you're on the ceiling. Likewise, if the gravity is normal, you can't kill yourself in an endless pit that's in the ceiling throughout Gravity Man's stage. For defeating Gravity Man, you get the Gravity Hold weapon, which is screen clearing, uses 4 bars of weapon energy per use, thus giving you 7 uses to a full bar of weapon energy. Costing 4 bars of weapon energy per use is normal for a full screen attack throughout the Mega Man Classic series. However, Gravity Hold isn't quite as useful as other full screen attacking weapons throughout the rest of the series. For one, it's only about as strong as a normal Mega Buster shot on almost all enemies. Furthermore, you can't extend its functions by sliding like you can with certain other full screen attacking weapons like Rain Flush and the Flash Stopper from Mega Man 4. However, that doesn't mean that Gravity Hold doesn't have its uses, because as a full screen attack, it certainly does its job quite well. Throughout Mega Man 5, there are quite a few areas filled with enemies that go down in just one use of Gravity Hold, thus making it rather useful for running through areas and just destroying everything in sight. However, if you do that, you're going to end up running out of weapon energy for Gravity Hold rather quickly, because you only get 7 uses to a full bar of weapon energy. Furthermore, enemies don't drop any weapon energy when killed by Gravity Hold because you're throwing them up off the top of the screen, which is another downside to Gravity Hold in comparison to other full screen attacking weapons in the entire classic series. Even with all of its flaws, Gravity Hold still stays a pretty solid weapon. It's also one of the more amusing screen-clearing weapons in the classic series to use. As a boss killer, Gravity Hold certainly isn't the go-to weapon. It only affects a handful of bosses, and the only boss worth using it on is Gyro Man, because any other boss that it affects will only take 1 damage from it, thus making it a rather weak weapon choice. One interesting thing to take note of whenever you use Gravity Hold is that it actually ignores the annoying invincibility frames that the enemies have in Mega Man 5, which is definitely a plus in my book. Even looking at all the different flaws of Gravity Hold, the weapon still manages to be fairly useful thanks to all the different areas throughout Mega Man 5 with enemies that are easily dispatched by Gravity Hold. Even though it's one of the weaker screen-clearing weapons in the entire classic series, it is still one of the better weapons here in Mega Man 5, and it's definitely a pretty solid weapon in my book. Along with being an already amusing weapon to use, Gravity Hold always had an amusing sound effect with it as well, which is always a plus. Besides being an offensive screen-clearing weapon, Gravity Hold can also be used as a defensive weapon as well, just like many of the other screen-clearing weapons in the classic series. Let's say you're trying to focus on tight platforming and you don't want to focus on precision aiming. Stick on Gravity Hold and you can take out all the enemies in the area at once without any aiming whatsoever. So it can be good as a defensive weapon as well. So yeah, Gravity Hold, when put next to many of the other screen-clearing weapons throughout the classic series, definitely has its flaws. However, Gravity Hold on its own is still a pretty solid weapon and definitely one of the better ones in Mega Man 5, as I said. One of my favorite hidden features of Gravity Hold is that you can use it in the final battle against Dr. Wily to tell where he's going to appear next, which is really neat. Alright, time to rate all the individual areas involving Gravity Man. Starting off with this stage, I give this stage a rating of 10 out of 10. Amazing, fun, and unique, Gravity Man definitely has one of the best stages in the entire classic series. The only thing that I wish that they would have changed in this stage is I wish that they would have made it 3 times longer, that way I could enjoy his stage even more. That stage is one of the funnest stages to go through, and definitely one of the stages that I look forward to going through the most whenever I play through Mega Man 5. Very, very fun stage, great graphics, and especially fun gimmick. For the battle against Gravity Man, I give it a rating of 8 out of 10. Even though it's not the most difficult battle around, it still stays fun after all these years of playing Mega Man 5. The battle stays fun for the same reason that a stage stays fun, because the gravity is constantly being switched on you and you have to fight him differently than you do most other Robot Masters. Definitely a really good battle. For Gravity Man's weapon, the Gravity Hold, I give it a rating of 7 out of 10. When put next to the other screen-clearing weapons in the classic series, it definitely shows its flaws, such as being fairly weak, not being able to receive weapon energy from defeated enemies, and also not being able to extend its functions by sliding. However, just looking at Gravity Hold itself, it's still a fairly solid weapon with plenty of areas to use it here in Mega Man 5, and it definitely stands as one of the better weapons in the game. For Gravity Man's music, I give it a rating of 9 out of 10. A great song playing on a great stage. Mega Man 5 has a really great soundtrack overall, and Gravity Man's theme is no exception to that. Very good song and one of my favorites in the game for sure. And for my overall score for Gravity Man, I give him a 9 out of 10. An excellent stage with a consistently fun boss battle and a wonderful tune. The only thing holding Gravity Man back just a little bit from that perfect score would be his weapon. While it is one of the better weapons in Mega Man 5, it does certainly have its flaws as we discussed. And well, there you have it. Gravity Man gets a 9 out of 10. And that is it for Robotic Review number 1. I hope you all enjoyed watching it. Stay tuned for our next Robotic Review next Saturday. Thank you for watching.